You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, we got an update on the WNBA ownership versus Napheesa Collier versus Cathy Engelbert situation by way of ESPN. And they did a deep dive. There may be multiple videos from one article. But clearly, the WNBA owners realize there needs to be change, but I'm not sure they like the messenger. And we tried to say that. We tried to say, look, two things can be true. Cathy Engelbert may need to go. Napheesa Collier may need to be right, or may be right about the officiating. And her being an unrivaled owner may be a big fly in the ointment in all of this. Also, the fact that she disclosed the situation, a conversation between herself and the commissioner, in some way has clearly backfired, and one of the owners comes right out and says that. This is really interesting. Right here, a change is a must. Have WNBA owners lost faith in Engelbert? I would say most of them have. But one of the comments, very interesting. All right, they're talking about the fact that the commissioner got booed when the Aces won the trophy. Could that be the final time that we see Engelbert serving as WNBA commissioner? Quote, once you have that kind of fighting with your best players, one team executive told ESPN, it's, quote, a death spiral. Tensions brewed throughout the WNBA season as players and coaches expressed frustration with officiating, and CBA negotiations intensified. But the conversation shifted specifically towards Engelbert during the WNBA Finals. On September 26th, Minnesota coach Cheryl Reeve was ejected after erupting at the referees over a non-call on a play where Collier was injured. Reeve decried the league officiating in a scathing post-game address and was fined and suspended one game. In her exit interview a few days later, the Lynx were eliminated. Collier denounced WNBA leadership and publicized parts of previously private conversations she had with Engelbert. Collier claimed Engelbert said Caitlin Clark, quote, should be grateful. She makes $16 million off the court because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And that, quote, players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. A swath of WNBA players publicly backed Collier. In her address to reporters before Game 1 of the finals, Engelbert said there were, quote, a lot of inaccuracies in the comments attributed to her by Collier and denied saying specific statements regarding Clark. But Engelbert acknowledged if the players in the W don't feel appreciated and valued by the league, then we have to do better and I have to do better. So, still, the commissioner is primarily tasked with representing the owners, not the players. That's a fact. Commissioner always works for the owners. Now, this commissioner kind of works for the owners and Adam Silver because Adam Silver is the one that really works for the owners above all. So, a lot of different owners and executives gave their feelings about Engelbert here. Quote, if I had a vote, one owner said, I would probably ask for a replacement. It seems unlikely that any major leadership change will happen while the CBA negotiations continue, and Engelbert told reporters at the finals, quote, she's never been a quitter. Quote, if you fire her now, it's admitting weakness. It's a terrible look for the league, another owner said. I can't stand what Collier did. That private conversation, it makes me not want to fire her, even though I think she should be fired. That's a clear backfire. that officially backfired. When an owner says that private conversation makes me not want to fire her, even though I think she should be fired. So now the owners are like, oh no, you're not going to get the. In other words, you don't get to make the rules. The owner, look, you're dealing with billionaires. They don't want their hands forced. They don't like that very much. Let's come down here. Quote, I believe Napheesa's comments. One of the aforementioned owners said, I think sometimes the approach of Engelbert's message hasn't been delivered well. Anytime there's challenges, whether it's player side or ownership side, as far as questioning things, there can be some derogatory tone. Quote, CBA negotiations, other negotiations are always hard, but it might not have been as confrontational, I think, if there was a little bit better dialogue and relationship building there. I don't know at this stage if it's repairable or not. Wow. Quote, she's done so much for the league commercially. People forget how bad it was when she got there, another industry insider said. Her time will tell. I think Adam is broken up by it. So Adam Silver, he probably thinks he knows he needs to get rid of her or has to get rid of her, doesn't want to, doesn't believe he should. Across the board, the league sources who spoke to ESPN agree if Engelbert wants to stay, she must rebuild relationships, establish trust with players. Quote, change is a must, another team executive said. Either Cathy has to change how she relates to players or there has to be a change in that role. It can be worked out, but some things have to change. The CBA negotiations offer Engelbert a last chance to salvage her role. Quote, it's such a hot take world that you ask that right now, and it's like, of course, the answer is no, Engelbert won't remain commissioner, another team executive said. But if she can repair relationships with certain individuals, which you can and you always can, you can get a good CBA done. And then I think she can stay. It's not going to be easy. Quote, this CBA will be over in the next 3 to 4 months to 5 months. So you can build momentum with them on a personal level and also a business level. And if so, then there will be a real path forward. And look, they know there's the work stoppage is not good. But you go back to this one. This is from an owner. If you fire her, it's admitting weakness. It's a terrible look for the league. I can't stand what Collier did. That was a private conversation. It makes me not want to fire her, even though I think she should be fired. Man. So now you got owners that are like flexing, saying, you know what? We didn't appreciate her delivering that message in the manner that she did and releasing a private conversation that Collier and the commissioner had between each other. I don't blame them for that, frankly. You know, I mean, I understand why she did it. Again, I think she's the wrong person to have delivered the message. Ultimately, look, Collier has lost a lot of support among a lot of WNBA fans since that. Initially, everybody was like, yeah, the officiating blows and it needs to change. And Cathy Engelbert sucks. And she does. She does. We've been asking the commissioner to do something about Caitlin Clark getting her brains beat out forever. But Napheesa didn't step up for Clark last year, did she? It was the same shit. We don't like that she leaked the conversation. I mean, makes me not want to fire her, even if we should. That's saying we ain't getting rid of her out of spite because you thought you would come out there and flex in front of everybody. That's a backfire, actually. Because They could have sat down behind closed door and hashed it out. You know, and maybe include Caitlin Clark in the conversation right there on the spot. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.